Live from Midtown Manhattan, it's theCUBE. Covering Big Data New York City 2017. Brought to you by SiliconANGLE Media and its ecosystem sponsors.
It's Jim Kobielus. Jim Kobielus.
That's right, Jean Furrier is actually how I pronounce his name, for the record. But he is Basil Faruqui.
Basil Faruqui, who's the Solutions Marketing Manager at BMC. Welcome to theCUBE.
Thank you, good to be back on theCUBE.
So, first of all, heard you guys had a tough time in Houston, so I hope everything's getting better and the best wishes to everyone down.
We're definitely in recovery mode now.
Yeah, and so hopefully that can get straightened out quick. What's going on at BMC? Give us a quick update, and in context to Big Data NYC, what's happening? What is BMC doing in the big data space now, the AI space now, the IoT space now, the cloud space?
Yeah, so like you said, that the data lake space, the IoT space, the AI space, there are 4 components of this entire picture that literally haven't changed since the beginning of computing. If you look at those 4 components of a data pipeline, it's ingestion, storage, processing, and analytics. What keeps changing around it is the infrastructure, the types of data, the volume of data, and the applications that surround it. This is obvious, and the rate of change has picked up immensely over the last few years with Hadoop coming into the picture, public cloud providers pushing it. It's obviously creating a number of challenges, but one of the biggest challenges that we are seeing in the market and we're helping customers address is a challenge of automating this. And obviously the benefit of automation is in scalability as well and reliability. So when you look at this rather simple data pipeline, which is now becoming more and more complex, how do you automate all of this from a single point of control? How do you continue to absorb new technologies and not re-architect your automation strategy every time, whether it's Hadoop, whether it's bringing in machine learning from a cloud provider? And that is the issue we've been solving for customers.
All right, let me jump into it. So first of all, you mentioned some things that never change. Ingestion, storage, and what was the third one?
Ingestion, storage, processing, and eventually analytics.
So, okay, so that's cool, totally buy that. Now, if you move and say, hey, okay, you believe that's standard, but now in the modern era that we live in, which is complex, you want breadth of data, but also you want the specialization when you get down to machine learning that's highly bounded. That's where the automation is right now. We see the trend essentially making that automation more broader as it goes into the customer environments.
Correct.
How do you architect that? If I'm a CXO or I'm a CDO, what's in it for me? How do I architect this? Because that's really the number one thing is I know what the building blocks are, but they've changed in their dynamics to the marketplace.
Yeah. So the way I look at it is that what defines success and failure, and particularly in big data projects, is your ability to scale. If you start a pilot and you spend 3 months on it and you deliver some results, but if you cannot roll it out worldwide, nationwide, whatever it is, essentially the project has failed. The analogy I often give is Walmart has been testing the pickup tower. I don't know if you've seen. So this is basically a giant ATM for you to go pick up an order that you placed online. They're testing this at about 100 stores today. Now, if that's a success and Walmart wants to roll this out nationwide, how much time do you think their IT department's going to have? Is this a 5-year project, 10-year project? No, the management's going to want this done 6 months, 10 months. So essentially, this is where automation becomes extremely crucial because it is now allowing you to deliver speed to market, and without automation, you are not going to be able to get to an operational stage in a repeatable and reliable
But you're
manner.
describing a very complex automation scenario. How can you automate in a hurry without sacrificing the details of what needs to be done? In other words, there would seem to call for repurposing or reusing prior automation scripts and rules and so forth. How can the Walmarts of the world do that fast, but also do it well?
Yeah, so we go about it in 2 ways. One is that out of the box, we provide a lot of pre-built integrations to some of the most commonly used systems in an enterprise, all the way from the mainframes, Oracles, SAPs, Hadoop, Tableaus of the world. They're all available out of the box for you to quickly reuse these objects and build an automated data pipeline. The other challenge we saw, and particularly when we entered the big data space 4 years ago, was that the automation was something that was considered close to the project becoming operational. Okay, and that's where a lot of rework happened because developers had been writing their own scripts, using point solutions. So we said, all right, it's time to shift automation left and allow companies to build automation as an artifact very early in the development life cycle. About a month ago, we released what we call Control-M Workbench, is essentially a community edition of Control-M targeted towards developers so that instead of writing their own scripts, they can use Control-M in a completely offline manner without having to connect to an enterprise system. So as they build and test and iterate, they're using Control-M to do that. So as the application progresses through the development life cycle, and all of that work can then translate easily into an enterprise edition of Control.
Just real quickly, just define what shift left means for the folks that might not know software methodologies. They don't think left political, left or
no.
You know,
So
like,
we're
alt
not
left, alt
shifting
right. I
Control-M.
mean, this is software development. So quickly take a minute to explain what shift left means and the importance of it.
Correct. So the if you think of software development as a straight line continuum, you've got you will start with building some code, you will do some testing, then unit testing, then user acceptance testing. As it moves along this chain, there was a point right before production where all of the automation used to happen. You know, developers would come in and deliver the application to ops, and ops would say, well, hang on a second, all this cron tab and all these other point solutions we've been using for automation, that's not what we use in production. And we need you to now
So test early and often.
So test early and often. So the challenge was the developers, the tools they used were not the tools that were being used on the production end of the side. And there was good reason for it because developers don't need something really heavy and with all the bells and whistles early in the development life cycle. Now, Control-M Workbench is a very light version which is targeted at developers and focuses on the needs that they have when they're building and developing it. So as the application progresses through
How much are you seeing waterfall?
Go ahead.
How much are you seeing waterfall and then people shifting left becoming more prominent now? What percentage of your customers have moved to agile and shifting left percentage-wise?
So we survey our customers on a regular basis, and the last survey showed that 80% of the customers have either implemented a more continuous integration and delivery type of framework or are in the process of doing it. And that's the other...
And getting up close to 100 as possible,
exactly.
pretty much.
And what
the
is
tipping
driving...
point is reached.
What is driving all of that is the need from the business. You know, the days of the 5-year implementation timelines are gone. This is something that you need to deliver every week,
Iteration,
2 weeks, and iteration.
Yeah.
And we have also innovated in that space and the approach we call jobs as code, where you can build entire complex data pipelines in code formats so that you can enable the automation in a continuous integration and delivery framework.
I have one quick question, Jim. I'll then take the floor and you got to learn, get an word in soon. But I have one final question on this BMC methodology thing. You guys have a history. Obviously, BMC goes way back. I remember Max Watson, CEO, and Ben and Bob Beecham back in '97. We used to chat with them. Dominated that landscape. But we're kind of going back to a systems mindset. So the question for you is, how do you view the issue of this holy grail, the promised land of AI and machine learning, where end-to-end visibility is really the goal, right? At the same time, you want bounded experiences at root level so automation can kick in to enable more activity. So there's a trade-off between going for the end-to-end visibility out of the gate, but also having bounded visibility and data to automate. How do you guys look at that market? Because customers want the end-to-end promise, but they don't want to try to get there too fast. There's a diseconomies of scale potentially.
Correct.
How do you talk about that?
And that's exactly the approach we've taken with Control-M Workbench, the community edition, because early on, you don't need capabilities like SLA management and forecasting and automated promotion between environments. Developers want to be able to quickly build and test and show value, okay? And they don't need something that is, with all the bells and whistles. We're allowing you to handle that piece in that manner through Control-M Workbench. And as things progress and the application progresses, the needs change as well. Well, now I'm closer to delivering this to the business. I need to be able to manage this within an SLA. I need to be able to manage this end to end and connect this to other systems of record and streaming data and clickstream data, all of that. So that we believe that it doesn't have to be a trade-off, that you you don't have to compromise speed and quality for end-to-end visibility and enterprise-grade automation.
You mentioned trade-offs. So the Control M workbench, the developer can use it offline. So what amount of testing can they possibly do on a complex data pipeline automation when the tool is offline? I mean, it seems like the more development they do offline, the greater the risk that it simply won't work when they go into production. Give us a sense for how they mitigate that risk when using Control M workbench.
We spend a lot of time observing how developers work, right? And very early in the development stage, all they're doing is working off of their Mac or their laptop, and they're not really connected to any. And that is where they end up writing a lot of scripts, because whatever code, business logic that they've written, the way they're going to make it run is by writing scripts. And that essentially becomes the problem, because then you have scripts managing more scripts, and as the application progresses, you have this complex web of scripts and cron tabs and maybe some open source solutions trying to simply make all of this run. And by doing this in an offline manner, that doesn't mean that they're losing all of the other Control M capabilities. Simply as the application progresses, whatever automation that they've built in Control M can seamlessly now flow into the next stage. So when you are ready to take an application into production, there's essentially no rework required from an automation perspective. All of that was built can now be translated into the enterprise-grade Control M, and that's where operations can then go in and add the other artifacts such as SLA management and forecasting and other things that are important from an operational perspective.
I'd like to get both your perspective, because so you're like an analyst here. So Jim, I want you guys to comment. My question to both of you would be, looking at this time in history, obviously on the BMC side, we mentioned some of the history. You guys are transforming on a new journey and extending that capability in this world. Jim, you're covering state-of-the-art AI, machine learning. What's your take of this space now? Strata Data, which is now Hadoop world, which is Cloudera went public, Hortonworks is now public, kind of the Hadoop guys kind of grew up, but the world has changed around them. It's not just about Hadoop anymore.
Yes.
So I'd love to get your thoughts on this kind of perspective. We're seeing a much broader picture in BigData NYC versus the Strata Hadoop show, which seems to be losing steam. But I mean, in terms of the focus, the bigger focus is much broader, horizontally scalable. Your thoughts on the ecosystem right now?
Let Basil answer first, unless Basil wants me to go first.
And I think the reason the focus is changing is because of where the projects are in their life cycle. Now what we're seeing is most companies are grappling with, how do I take this to the next level? How do I scale? How do I go from just proving out one or two use cases to making the entire organization data-driven and really inject data-driven decision-making in all facets of decision-making? So that is, I believe, what's driving the change that we're seeing, that now you've gone from Strata Hadoop to being Strata Data and focus on that element. And like I said earlier, the difference between success and failure is your ability to scale and operationalize. Take machine learning for an example.
Really, that's where it's not a hype market. It's show me the meat on the bone, show me scale, I got operational concerns of security and whatnot.
And machine learning, that's one of the hottest topics. A recent survey I read, which polled a number of data scientists, it revealed that they spent about less than 3% of their time in training the data models and about 80% of their time in data manipulation, data transformation, and enrichment. That is obviously not the best use of a data scientist's time. And that is exactly one of the problems we're solving for our customers around the world.
That needs to be automated to the hilt.
Correct.
To help them to be more productive, to deliver faster results.
Ecosystem perspective, Jim, what's your thoughts?
Everything that Basil said, and I'll just point out that many of the core use cases for AI are automation of the data pipeline. It's driving machine learning driven predictions, classifications, abstractions and so forth into the data pipeline, into the application pipeline to drive results in a way that is contextually and environmentally aware of what's going on, the historical data, what's going on in terms of current streaming data, to drive optimal outcomes, using predictive models and so forth, inline to applications. So really, fundamentally, then, what's going on is that automation is an artifact that needs to be driven into your application architecture as a repurposable resource for a variety of
Do
downstream
customers even
use
know what to
cases.
automate? I mean, that's the question.
You're
Like,
automating
what do I-
human judgment. You're automating effort. You know, like the judgments that a working data engineer makes to prepare data for modeling and whatever. More and more that can be automated because those are pattern structured activities that have been mastered by smart people over many years.
I mean, we just had a customer on with Glasscom GSK with AtScale, and his attitude is, we see the results from the users, then we double down and pay for it and automate it. So the automation question, it's an open question, rhetorical question, but this begs the question, which is, who's writing the algorithms as machines get smarter and start throwing off their own real-time data? What are you looking at? How do you determine you're going to need machine learning for machine learning?
Yeah.
You're going to need AI for AI?
It's actually,
who writes the algorithms for the algorithms?
automated machine learning is a hot, not only research focus, but we're seeing it more and more. Solution providers like Microsoft and Google and others are going deep down and doubling down on investments in exactly that area. That's a productivity play for data scientists.
I think the data market is going to change radically, in my opinion. You're starting to see some things with blockchain and some other things that are interesting. Data sovereignty, data governance are huge issues. Basil, let's just give you final thoughts for this segment as we wrap this up. Final thoughts on data and BMC. What should people know about BMC right now? Because people might have a historical view of BMC. What's the latest? What should they know? What's the new Instagram picture of BMC? What should they know about you guys?
So I think what I would say people should know about BMC is that all the work that we've done over the last 25 years in virtually every platform that came before Hadoop, we have now innovated to take this into things like big data and cloud platforms. So when you are choosing Control-M as a platform for automation, you are choosing a very, very mature solution. An example of which is Navistar. Their CIO is actually speaking at the keynote tomorrow. They've had Control-M for 15, 20 years, and they've automated virtually every business function through Control-M. And when they started their predictive maintenance project, where they're ingesting data from about 300,000 vehicles today to figure out when this vehicle might break and do predictive maintenance on it. When they started their journey, they said that they always knew that they were going to use Control-M for it because that was the enterprise standard, and they knew that they could simply now extend that capability into this area. And when they started about 3-4 years ago, they were ingesting data from about 100,000 vehicles. That has now scaled to over 325,000 vehicles, and they have not had to re-architect their strategy as they grow and scale. So I would say that is one of the key messages that we are taking to market, is that we are bringing innovation that spans over 25 years and evolving it,
modernizing it,
and bringing it to newer
well,
platforms.
Congratulations. I wouldn't call that a pivot. I'd call it an extensibility issue, kind of modernizing kind of the core things.
Absolutely. Thanks
for coming and sharing the BMC perspective inside theCUBE here on Big Data NYC. This is theCUBE. I'm John Furrier, Jim Kobielus here in New York City. More live coverage. For 3 days, we'll be here today, tomorrow, and Thursday in Big Data NYC. More coverage after this short break.